Welcome back to 504 Road Trips. In today's video, we're going to unbox and install this dash cam. I got this off of Amazon Vine. I do get that for free in exchange for a review, and I will put a link to purchase this off of Amazon in the description, but note that I do not make any kind of commission on any Amazon sales or anything like that. So Amazon describes this as a 3-channel 9.66-inch Wi-Fi mirrored dash cam with front and rear camera, IPS touchscreen, triple rear view mirror camera with app recording, 64GB TF card, loop recording, night vision, G-sensor, parking monitor. And as far as I can tell, I haven't actually looked at it yet, but it looks like it clips onto the rear view mirror for the monitor. And then that functions as your rear view mirror. A separate camera goes to the rear of the car to get behind the car, the actual rear view, and then a third camera films what's going on inside the car. But we'll see more of that once we get it open and see what's in the box. So let's see, the box just slides out of this sleeve. What have we here? Ziploc bag with, that's the SD card, or as they call it, a TF card, 64GB. Looks like it's not a real high quality SD card. No name brand on it, just 64GB and some other unintelligible markings. So let's see what's in this box. It's very nicely packaged, I have to say that. I mean, nothing was holding any of the stuff closed. There was no tape or glue or anything like that. I didn't take anything off of this before I turned the camera on. So that's the entirety of the contents of the box, and we get an owner's manual. So let's just open each of these bags just to see what's in them. Okay, so this is a camera. Peel that off. I hate Ziploc bags. This is what I'm guessing is the rear camera. Peel that off. And so this is interesting. It comes with a cable with a mini jack and then a cable with just a open end. I'm not sure. Well, I guess we'll find out once we read the instructions. And we have another connector here. And this is the power supply. It's a mini USB. And this just goes into the cigarette lighter or power port in the car. I'm not sure what these two things are. They appear to be some sort of seals. And then the big piece here is the mirror. And you can see that this has actually got a mirror surface. There's something that needs to be peeled off of it. Oh, yep, there it is. I'm going to peel that off. And yeah, that's an actual mirror. So I guess if you're not using the backup camera, you actually can still see in the mirror. So looking at the back of this, we have, I guess what attaches this to the mirror, some sort of clips. There's a camera here, which is the actual dash cam, and this is a little ball and socket type thing so you can adjust the direction it's pointing. And there's a button here. There's a place for the SD card here, and there's a couple of ports here, I guess for each of the two cameras, and the micro USB for the power. So now we're going to look at the instructions real quick before we try to install this. So this is the instruction booklet, and the first section of it is in Japanese. So I don't know about you, I don't read Japanese. If you do, then it'll probably be easier to understand than what I'm seeing here, because this is the English translation here. And it starts with matters need attention. That's some different cautions for different things, like how to insert the TF card or micro SD card, as we typically call it. Then the function of the switch, the one button on the camera that in the shutdown state, long press the power button, hold it for 3 to 5 seconds, and the machine will automatically start working. Press power button under the startup state and keep it for 3 seconds to automatically save the video file and user settings and shutdown. Function 2, screen black light switch and stand back light switch. In standby mode, press the power button to turn off the screen backlight again. This is all kind of unclear because it's translated from Japanese and not translated very well. Installation guide says turn off the car engine. Insert the TF card into the recorder card slot. Please use high-speed TF card above class 10. Well, hopefully what they gave us is above class 10. Attach the recorder to the original rear view mirror of the car. Insert the car charger into the car cigarette lighter. Connect the USB port to the vehicle charger of the recorder with the charging extension cord. The charging extension line can be laid along the edge of the car windshield when wiring. Yeah, we're going to hide the cables. Install the rear camera on the rear part of the vehicle and pay attention to the direction when installing. Wiring can be laid along the ceiling of vehicles. Install a rear plug to the recorder AV in. Adjust the lens position to make sure that the lens is kept level to the ground. Start the engine and check that the machine is being installed correctly. Okay, so this is all just basic stuff. This tells you how to hide the cabling, which I know how to do. And then manual record function. And then it goes into the menus in the menus in the camera, you know, once you get the thing up and running, which I'm not concerned about right now. My main concern right now is how this thing is actually going to mount inside the car. And we have these clips or whatever. And I don't think this has anything to do with it, because these don't come off. They don't. Oh, I see. These are going to hook around the mirror. Nice if they would have shown that in the instructions. So it's just going to basically grab onto the mirror with these rubber bands. Well, let's go ahead and install it. So one more thing we're going to do before we take this outside is put in the SD card. And this is the card, and it goes in the little slot right here. Now, this is my second attempt at doing this, because the first attempt, I thought I did it wrong. It doesn't spring in and out like every SD card on every camera I've ever dealt with before. It just goes in there, and I hope that that doesn't mean that this thing is broken. The only way to get it out of there, because it's got the little place to, you know, stick your finger, but it's not the side that has the little ridge. I had to use a pair of tweezers to get it out, and I thought maybe I'd put it in there backwards, but I turned it around and it doesn't go in because it, you know, it angles to one side when you try to put it in the wrong way, like it would in any other situation. Any other SD card would do that too. So let's get it into the car and mount it on the rearview mirror and plug it in just to see if the thing works, and then we'll do the rest of the install after that. Okay, now that I'm in the car, I've verified that the SD card does indeed work. It is inserted properly, even though, well, not real happy with the way that it goes in and out of there, but it works. If I ever had to pull it out, I'm gonna have to get a pair of tweezers or something. One drawback I noticed is that on the cigarette lighter adapter, there's no it's just hardwired. There's no USB ports or anything like that. So if you only have one outlet in your car, and this car, although it has one in there, it doesn't work. So this is the only one. You lose the ability to plug anything else in. Rarely plug anything in this car, but that's solvable by getting a USB outlet to go into here, and just get a USB-A to micro USB adapter that's long enough, you know, an actual cable that's long enough to run from here all the way along the headliner, down the A-pillar, around all this to wherever your outlet is. The other option would be to cut this wire and hardwire it somewhere behind here, which I might do in the future just to make it a little more of a seamless installation. So what we're going to do next is we are going to install the camera onto the mirror and see how that goes. So the way this works is there's little clips on the back of the camera, and these little rubber things go on, and it's going to wrap around the mirror and hook onto the top. So that should be pretty simple. I already see a drawback is that this camera has to be past that side of the mirror in order for it to see around the mirror. This thing's not nearly big enough to cover the entire mirror, so I'm going to have this part of the mirror sticking out. I really don't like that. This thing should be about 5 inches wider. But let's just see if this will even attach. That's one. And then the other. Whoop. And there's different spots. I guess you can tighten it up if it's too loose. But I mean, that actually seems pretty solid. And there's not as much mirror sticking out here as I thought there. Oh, this extends out. Wow. Okay, so that's a neat feature. So the camera, hopefully that's visible in the frame. The camera itself extends out here. So if you got a narrow mirror like this, this is the camera. So I can actually slide this all the way over now, I think. Yeah, I can actually make this cover the entire mirror. Okay, so now we're going to get the whole thing centered on the mirror, or as close to center as I can get it anyway. And that's about where it needs to be. There's a little bit of mirror sticking out here, but I think that's good enough. So now the next thing is we just got to hook up the wiring to it. So the micro USB cable is going to plug in here. And of course it's backwards and it faces the driver's side. I don't know whether they think you can run the cable around the driver's side. I'm not, I'm running it around the passenger side. But from here it's just a matter of hiding the cable, because you don't want this cable just hanging right in front of, you know, hanging down your dashboard. So what we're going to do is we're going to put the cable up here behind the headliner. So I've got this little tool here, and if you don't have one of these, you can get one on Amazon. And what they do is it's just a plastic tool that's used for stuffing cable into tight spots, and it's made out of plastic so it doesn't scratch anything or damage anything, and it doesn't cut through the insulation on the cable. This actually came with a different dash cam I installed several years ago, and I just had it in my toolbox. But it does come in handy for doing this kind of thing. So first off, we're going to run this cable up here behind the headliner. I'm going to leave a little bit of slack so that there's room to adjust the mirror. And this Hyundai has a very loose headliner where it meets the windshield, so it just kind of goes in there. Well, that windshield is red hot too. So that's completely hidden across the top of the headliner. Now the next part is going to be a little more difficult, and that's the A-pillar here. And the A-pillar is a little bit tighter. So that's where this tool is going to come in handy. So let's see what happens with this. Once you get it behind there, usually you can just work it in and it'll kind of just fall into place. Now the biggest problem is always when you get to the bottom of the A-pillar, you have to get it around the dashboard, and usually there's no seamless way to do that. So now another option here would be to pull this A-pillar completely off and just come out behind it over here somewhere. But I'm not doing that. I don't think this has an airbag inside of it. It's a 2011 model. I don't think they were doing that yet, but I don't want to mess with that. And that's another thing. If you do have an airbag in the A-pillar, you got to be real careful with, you don't want to go sticking stuff in there too far. Usually you can still hide stuff behind the seam here, but just kind of use caution with that. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to pull this right here and then get it behind this weather strip in here. This weather strip just pulls right off. And that'll get it down to this little kick panel here. And then I'm going to go behind the kick panel and up behind the glove compartment and right over here to the power outlet. So I'll show you that when I'm done. So here's where I'm at. We've got the cable hidden behind the headliner up here. Got it hidden down the A-pillar. It's kind of laying out across this. There's not a whole lot I can do about that. And then it's behind this weather stripping on the door, and then it comes out right here. And every glove compartment can be removed or unlatched to where it'll come out like this. So I'm running this behind the glove compartment. This is going to plug in right here, and I'm just going to put the slack back up in here. There's actually the air intake for the air conditioner up in here, and I'm just going to kind of stuff the wire in there just to hold it in place. And then I'll be able to close the glove compartment, and that'll get the cable as hidden as it's going to get. Now, that's it. So, yeah, it's not hanging down where it's going to snag on people's feet and they're going to yank the thing out or destroy the cable. So the next thing is we have to install the other two cameras. But right now, we have a functional forward-only camera. And if we start up the car, the camera comes on, and I don't know how well it's showing the display, but there's a time display here, which is wrong. Time, date, day of the week, and this whole thing is touchscreen, and it's actually recording. So then all you got to do is just get the mirror adjusted, and then get the camera, which has that ball and socket type setup, pointed in the right direction to, to record what's in front of you. So now we'll move on to the other cameras. So we're going to take a look at this rear camera setup again, and what we have here is a mini jack that's going to have to be fed through a hole somewhere to get inside the car, because the camera itself is going to mount on the outside of the car. And the instructions say to snake the wire in through the license plate lights. Well, that's not really an option in this car because these are flush. I might try to pop those out, but there's a couple of delete plates here. I don't know what they could possibly be for, but they look like they might be just enough to, something I can drill a hole in and just run it through and then fill it in with some caulk or something like that. I got to see what's on the other side. Also, there's this red wire here that I didn't know what it was for, and I was finally able to figure out from the instructions is that you can connect that into the hot wire for your reverse lights, and that'll make the reverse camera come up on the screen, I guess full screen, when you put the car in reverse. So that's all right here. All I got to do is on this car, just take this little carpeted piece out and see what's behind it. So I've got that liner out, and you can't really see it, but I was able to feel that there's nothing on the other side of these two plugs here. So I'm just going to drill a hole right in the center of this one, and this camera actually comes detached from the cable, so I just need to drill a hole that's big enough for this to go through. And then this is going to mount, so I'm going to mount it right here on this piece, because I can run screws through that without having to go through metal. And you just tighten up those little screws on the side to keep it from moving around. So that's going to be the game plan here. So the magic number for the drill bit was 730 seconds, and this goes right through there. And then once the whole thing's installed, I'll just use some caulk or some kind of something similar to that to seal that up so that moisture can't get in. So then we're going to mount the camera itself here. And I tried to drill a hole there, but I couldn't get it to go through. But I realized that the camera's got to set far enough back to be under this lip here, so it's not sticking out in the weather. So I'm just going to mount the camera to here, and the cable's just going to run there. And nobody's going to be able to see it because it's going to be under this lip anyway. So the kit came with an adhesive pad as well that will stick this camera in place. Now that's not for permanent installation, though, I don't think, because it did come with screws, but it'll hold it in place until we can get the screws in it. And that's off center, and that's permanent, so damn it. Okay, that didn't really work the way I wanted it to. But the problem is I really can't see what I'm doing. Anyway, I think that's pretty good. Like I said, that's just to temporarily hold it in place while I drill a couple of little holes and put the screws in. The screws that hold this in are tiny, and so they're going to require like a number 0 screwdriver, I guess, to screw them in. Let me get that done. I'm going to turn the camera off, and then we'll see about routing this wire. So the tiny little mounting screws that came with the reverse camera were way too small to work with, and when I tried to tighten them up, even though I'd pre-drilled the holes, the head rounded off, and so I went ahead and pulled that out, drilled some slightly bigger holes, and went with my own screws, and I think these are going to hold it a lot better. So the only thing left I have to do here is just kind of seal up that hole right there, which I'll do later. Okay, so I've got the reverse light wire hooked up, and all I did was disconnect this clip here that connects to the reverse light, and used a multimeter to determine that this was the hot wire on the right-hand side. This is a very, very thin stranded wire, so I just stripped a little bit of it and twisted it up real good and stuck it right in the little hole and plugged the clip back in, and that's going to make it make contact. And I did check, right now it's off because the key's off, but I did check to make sure that the reverse light still works. So everything seems to be good there. There's probably better ways to do that, but I'm not an electrician, so I'm not going to spend any more time on that. But the purpose of that is to send a signal back to the camera to let it know the car's in reverse, so that it will turn on the reverse camera, I guess full screen, in the display. So I've got this all cleaned up. I got the little liner back in there, so all the wiring's hidden underneath that liner. I zip tied the wire to this piece right here, just to keep it from hanging down, and that looks as good, if not better, than the factory wiring here, which I think this is the cable for the trunk release and the wiring for all of the tail lights that are in the trunk. So next we got to run this wire to the front of the car. Okay, so I've got the cable run from the back all the way to the front, and probably can't see much there, but it's staying up close along the top of the trunk where it won't hang down and where it won't hit anything or get caught on anything. I probably could have done a better job with that, but it's really hot and I'm tired of fooling with this. So I went behind this piece here, behind the seatbelt, very important, so that if somebody actually uses the seatbelt in your back seat, it doesn't get yanked out. Then it's exposed here. I probably could have got it into that crack, but I didn't want to take that apart. And then it just runs through the weather stripping here behind the B-pillar cover here. And then as we get into the front seat, it runs behind the weather stripping here. And then I went behind the A-pillar here and along the headliner, and I stuffed the remaining wire up behind the headliner, which is plenty of room for. Another thing I did was I had the exposed wire up in here, I guess in the 98-degree heat with no shade that I was working in when I did that part. It didn't occur to me that I could go behind the A-pillar here and through the weather stripping down to the glove compartment down here. So now that wire is completely hidden as well. The only thing I have to do here is get that to where it's not being shut in the glove box door. I'll clean that up a little bit later on, but I think that's pretty seamless. I've made sure the door is all closed properly. And so what I should have here is front and rear camera, and the rear camera should activate when I put the car in reverse. So let's see what happens. So here's the mirror, and we're going to start the car. Camera automatically activates, and it's showing front and rear view there. Now, there's probably a way to just show rear view. I'll have to play with the menus a little bit. I have set the time, and I'm probably going to have to reshoot this at night because the camera doesn't pick up what's showing on the screen very well. But when we put the car in reverse, it shows just the reverse camera. Looks like I need to aim it slightly higher, and it shows the little guide to tell you where to back into, you know, where the safety zones are and where to stop and everything. So it doesn't look like that's going to be very useful during the daytime because it's really hard to see, but I think it will be handy at night, and that's when I would probably need it the most because I don't have very good night vision. And then another thing about this whole setup is there's a button on the bottom here, and with that button you can just shut the display off and you just got a regular mirror. You can see everything behind you in the mirror, and you know, so you don't get that distraction, especially at night. That might be a little bit annoying, but the camera continues to record while it's in that mode with the screen off. So we'll take a look at this at night and see exactly what the screen shows. So now what we're seeing is an example of the front camera and the video it actually records. And this was set to 1080p. This is just a drive through a shopping center parking lot. The video seems a little dark, and I think I might have to set the exposure up a notch when I get into the settings. But otherwise, it does exactly what it's supposed to do. It records the video and it shows you what's going on in front of you. It'll catch the license plate of the car you're about to collide with. So this is exactly what a dash cam is supposed to do. Now what we're seeing now is the back camera, the rear camera, and saw it backing out, but now it continues to operate as we go forward. Now this is mirror image, so we can always flip the image if this is confusing, and everything will look pretty normal at that point. And it's funny, the rear video is actually better than the front video, possibly because it's not being filmed through glass. So now that we're getting towards dusk, I'm gonna show you the on-screen stuff with this thing because it's not real visible in broad daylight. So let's see. First of all, I only have the two cameras hooked up, so this is the front cam, that's the rear cam. If you tap on the screen, then it'll show you just the front or just the rear. However, notice that this is a cropped version of a full-size screen, so you don't really see much in the screen. When you see right here, we get a full view, but when you do the widescreen, you're not seeing the top or the bottom. So, and like I said, this thing is really, really hard to see during the daylight. So everything I'm reviewing it on is based on its merits as a dash cam and dash cam only. We have a clock here, with the date, time, day of the week. This right here pulls up, sorry, you got to stop recording. That's start stop, and that takes a snapshot. If you hit home, that takes you into the menu. Now, I thought I had the resolution at 4K, but I only had it at 1080p, which is probably plenty. I tested it, I guess, at 1080p. You can set the video duration to either 1 minute or 3 minutes. Everything is really intuitive on the touchscreen. Audio is either on or off. If you don't want it recording what's going on in the car, you turn that off. G-sensor is to detect impact. If every vehicle every dash cam I've ever had, I've always kept that turned off because it tends to just fill up the memory card. Every time you hit a bump, it saves the 3 minutes worth of video, and then you run out of memory card space. Parking monitoring is on. If it senses an impact when the power is off, it'll record for a minute. So we leave that on. LCD can be set to either keep on for 1 minute, keep on for 5 minutes, or keep on for 10 minutes. I'm going to set that to 1 minute because when I'm driving, I don't really care to have it on. Brightness, that's for the display here. It's on high already. And then it's got a Wi-Fi function. I haven't even gotten into that. So we go on to the next thing. Can format the SD card. There's a factory reset. You can set the date and time, which is real simple. You just select your year, your month, your date, and then the time, and it's all in 24-hour time. There doesn't seem to be any way to set it to 12-hour time. You can either have your license plate display on the screen or not, which I never do. Button sound is just to let you know when you've hit buttons. Headlight reminder, I don't know how that could possibly work, so I'm not even going to bother with it. Volume, that's for playback, I guess. And the language is English, Francais, Espanol. I don't know what that is. That looks like Russian. Yeah, it's got all kind of languages, but we want English because that's the only language that I can really fluently speak. It's got a lot of languages. Korean, English, okay. And let's see, then we got power, sound, auto update time, and then it's got exposure. I'm going to set the exposure at +1 because I noticed that the video is kind of dark. Driving report, I don't even know what that is. The frequency defaulted to 50 hertz. In the US, it should be 60 hertz. High dynamic range was turned off. I turned it on. Time the watermark. I don't know what that means. Oh, it watermarks the time on the video. I guess that's a good idea to have. And then there's an about screen. That just shows your firmware version, I guess. SSID for doing the Wi-Fi. It's got a QR code to scan, I guess, when you set up the app. And like I said, I haven't fooled with the app yet, and I really don't care to. If I need to get video off this thing, I'll pop the SD card out and put it in my computer. And then, let's see, to get out of this, whoops, that ain't it. Oh, back, and we're back. And it's still paused, and like I said, you turn off the screen, and then it just functions as a rearview mirror, and that's probably the best way to leave it. If you put it in reverse, it will turn on the backup cam, and it shows you the street behind you, you know, like low down. So I guess if you're backing up, you know, you can see exactly where you're going. But I probably won't even use that function. So anyway, that about wraps it up. You can draw your own conclusions from this video, but as far as I'm concerned, it's for a dash cam. It does what it's supposed to do, front and rear, and that's what I was looking for. All the extra features and stuff, I don't really care about that much. But anyway, comment below, give us a thumbs up. Be sure and subscribe if you haven't already, and join us for our next 504 road trip.